To get started, what is your name
Grace Ford-Dirks.
and what company or organization are you representing today?
I'm the manager of interpretation and public outreach at Wyck Historic House Garden and Farm. My role here is in interpretation, which is kind of broad and all-encompassing at Wyck. We're a small staff at a historic house that was home to 9 generations of one Philadelphia family from 1690 to 1973. So my role here is really to help use our historic resources to engage with our modern community through free public outreach programs primarily that work with our active urban farm, our historic house collection containing more than 10,000 family heirlooms, and our historic rose garden, which is the oldest in the country in its original planting order. It was home to 9 generations of the same Quaker family for almost 300 years. So each generation added pieces to its kind of greater narrative here in Philadelphia, but it's one of the most completely documented historic houses and family lineages here in Philadelphia. Every detail of this family story was tracked over almost 300 years, from the earliest farmers to inventors in the 1800s to educators and innovators and community leaders here. Their story is told through our house, through our collection, through our landscape, which we try to share with our community so that they can connect with their past alongside us. Yeah, so Wyck has been open as a museum since 1974. The final owners moved out in 1973, and we opened as a museum shortly after. The Wister Haynes family, um, names change over the first couple generations. Women have actually owned this property for longer than men have. So, as their names changed in the early 18th century, so did our family name, but we usually use Wister Haynes to kind of refer to the whole group here. First owners were flax farmers, later generations, weavers, farmers, gentlemen farmers, architects, engineers, and so forth. But the final owners moved out in 1974, um, gave over their property, about 2.5 acres, our historic house, the collection of more than 10,000 objects inside of it, to the Wyck Association, the nonprofit that still operates our site today. So for more than 50 years, we have been open as a free historic site in our Germantown neighborhood. A lot of things make Wyck unique, which is fun for us. So we do have the oldest rose garden in the country in its original planting order, planted in 1821 by sixth generation Jane Bown Haynes I, who left behind her original garden sketchbook and her original garden plan for us to learn from, and left behind a garden of more than 50 varieties of heritage roses, which bloom once a year in mid-May, which we celebrate at our Celebration of the Roses Community Festival around Memorial Day weekend every year. Our house collection is also incredibly unique. Every single object in this house, again, more than 10,000, are all family pieces. So nothing was brought in to look like it might have been here. Everything here was left behind by the family, was curated by the family, was made, used, cleaned under the supervision of, cared for by, treasured by family members that lived here. And that's incredibly unique. The house is also pretty unusual. Built in phases. The first house here was built about 1690. It no longer survives. The current house was built in phases between 1736 and 1824, pretty much. So it's kind of a layer cake of a house that reflects each generation's transformations, and is one of the few completely documented colonial houses in North America. This property used to be about 50 acres, running from Germantown Avenue all the way down to the Wissahickon Creek, which is now about Lincoln Drive in modern day terms. So over time, that land was sold off to help develop the neighborhood we now recognize as West Central Germantown. But through that time, Wyck has stayed as a constant. The house, the garden, the small farm around it, that has stayed as a constant. In the early 20th century, people recognized it as kind of a lost historic gem, kind of working against modern tides in the neighborhood, acting as a kind of quiet, peaceful place that spoke of earlier times. That's classic colonial revival language, but to our modern community, Wyck is still a kind of peaceful place where they can come for a break, for relaxation, to just enjoy some green space in an urban environment, to learn how to farm. So I think that the continuity of access, we talk a lot about access and equity and our kind of modern day interpretation, and having a continually operated museum for more than 50 years in our ever-changing neighborhood. Even on top of that, 300 years of life here in this one spot when it was owned by the Wister-Haynes family, I think is really important. It helps kind of create this idea of a constant safe space for our community here. In the third generation, a glassmaker named Caspar Wister married into the family. Caspar never owned this house. His wife did eventually, but he visited the area quite often. Um, Caspar Wister is best known for founding the Wisterberg Glassworks in Alloway, New Jersey, in Salem County, New Jersey, in the late 1730s. That was one of the first successful glassworks in North America. So producing window glass and bottle glass. It became so significant to American industry that British authorities reached out to see if it would really impact the British's ability to kind of maintain a monopoly over American goods. And Governor Franklin at the time, Benjamin Franklin's son, had to step in and say, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just this tiny, tiny little industry. It's not really an issue. They're making bad quality glass anyway," when really the Wisterberg Glassworks was producing fine quality glass, utilitarian glass that would have been in many households in our region, including our own. We believe that some of the glass, perhaps even some of the glass behind me here, is Wisterberg glass, dates to that 18th century period between the 1730s and 1780, when the glassworks closed. Um, we have a number of kind of whimsical pieces left behind by the glassmaker that he gave to his children. Small glass dogs called Schnappschuhns that were made by German glassmakers at the end of a long day with leftover glass. We believe that the glassmaker Caspar Wister left some for his children, and later generations treasured them and stewarded them to the present day. In the sixth generation, Reuben Haynes III was a really influential Philadelphian in the early Republican period. He helped to found a number of institutions that still shape our city today. He helped to found the Pennsylvania Horticultural Society, the Franklin Institute, the Academy of Natural Sciences. He was helped to shape Eastern State Penitentiary in its early days. He was a Quaker social reformer, educational reformer. He invested in infrastructure, in the railroad, in toll roads, in the waterworks. He was friends with artists and supported their work. He was friends with utopian thinkers like Robert Owen, Thomas Say, William McClure, who would later go on to found utopian communities in the Midwest. So he's really an early adopter technology-wise, and he's a really kind of forward-thinking social innovator here in Philadelphia. He left his mark on the house in a number of ways. A lot of our important scientific collections are his. A lot of our pamphlet collections are his. His wife is the one who planted our rose garden in 1821. And he's the one who commissions the 1824 restoration of our house by the architect William Strickland, whose work you can see across Philadelphia and across our country today. Um, Later generations continued to educate, to innovate. Seventh generation or eighth generation, Jane Bown Haynes II founded the Pennsylvania School of Horticulture for Women, which is the first of its kind designated professional school in horticulture for women in this region. Um, Anne Haynes in the sixth generation, she was a meteorologist, self-trained in the 1840s, kept 30 years worth of weather data here that still helps us assess the impact of climate change in our area. So each generation tells its own story, and each generation are innovators, contributors to our city, to our region, and to our immediate Germantown community, I think. So lots of stories I can tell, but those are just a few. A lot of challenges and a lot of opportunities. So our greatest challenge oftentimes is just staffing and funding. So we are a tiny, tiny staff. I am half of the inside staff. We have our executive director, myself managing collections programs. We have a horticulturalist who helps manage our garden, and we have a farmer who helps take care of the farm. So we all work together on different things, but a small staff. We want to be open as much as possible to allow our community access to our grounds, to our green space, to our garden. But staffing wise, it's just difficult to be open for the hours that we know we need to be. With only 4 people, it's really a challenge. Funding is always an issue. We try to offer our programs at no cost or very little cost as much as possible. Our goal is to be free and accessible as much as possible, but that requires funding. So when I'm not running programs, I'm writing grants. So that's always a challenge for historic sites like us. Other sites in our area are managed by larger foundations, the Colonial Dames, the National Trust, that kind of stuff. We are not. We are the independent Wyck Association. So gratefully, we were established with a small endowment, and we maintain a kind of small but mighty membership base that is very supportive. We have a great board that helps us connect with our immediate community and helps us kind of raise awareness. We have a great young friends group that helps us raise awareness. So I think that staffing, funding are really the two challenges of any tiny historic site, any museum. Opportunities are really limitless. We have so much to draw from to connect with our neighborhood. We do listening sessions every year with our kind of surrounding Germantown community, our membership base, anyone who wants to engage. We ask, what do you want to do? What do you want to learn from? What can we do to best serve you? We do that for the farm, and we also do that for some of our other programs. And that kind of helps us shape, like, are people really interested in arts education? Do we need to do more printmaking, cyanotypes, that kind of stuff? Do people just want to learn how to kind of curate their own rose garden? We can do that too. So based on feedback and based on our own expertise, we're able to kind of shape the public programs that we offer. But we're always listening. We try to be open as much as possible. If a partner group wants to come do programs with us, like our neighbors, the PA Flax Project, reached out to me not too long ago. Their goal is to revitalize flax production in Pennsylvania. We've been growing flax on this site for more than 300 years. So natural partners, but they said, can we just have a program in your education shed? I said, yeah, of course. And that's turned into a multi-year partnership in which they help us grow flax on our site, and we interpret flax production and linen production, which was so important to the site in the 18th century and Germantown at large in the 18th century, 19th century, through a number of free public processing workshops, lectures, and so forth. So we're so lucky to have a number of small businesses and community groups around us that want to use our site. And so really our goal there is just to be helpful and active facilitators, which helps us go beyond what we can do under our own power, to have other partners kind of helping to run events like that. So there are challenges, but we try to do what we can to kind of maximize our potential here as a historic site. I mean, on surface level, I think that those who lived in this house have contributed to Philadelphia's development in more ways than people could possibly realize. It's really amazing. You see the Haynes family, the Wister family, everywhere you look. Like Reuben Haynes the third, for instance, in the sixth generation, he was the first one to really patent and develop the process of putting pressurized water through a leather hose to fight fires. So that shapes our life in myriad ways. The Fairmount Waterworks, that's something he invested in. The Germantown-Norristown Railroad, that's something he invested in. So a lot of these things that still show up. But honestly, I think the real value of our collection and where people can connect and where it can resonate is in the kind of everyday materials that we have preserved. I think that I had a professor say one time that a good pot's a broken pot. And honestly, the thing that historians in 150 years will treasure are like folding tables, folding chairs, things that we toss away without thinking, but that kind of form the everyday fabric of our existence here. And because the Haynes family had so much continuity here, because there's no reason to clean out the attic when somebody else moves into the house, because you can just kind of pass it on to the next generation. And because they found real value in maintaining this collection here, and its kind of integrity, we have all of this stuff from the biggest level, from the kind of shapers of our modern institutions to just kind of, connecting through the smallest of objects here. I think that Wyck can resonate in all aspects of Philadelphians' lives. Hope that made sense.
It's great. That was perfect. Thank you so much for answering my question.
Yeah, please come visit anytime. We'd love to
Oh,
have
we
you.
will. We definitely will.